Spider-Men were the talk of the town as San Diego Comic-Con 2023 kicked off day one with an exclusive panel in Hall H, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 Symbiotic Relationships. Insomniac Games creative director Brian Intihar, game director Ryan Smith, narrative director John Paquette, and senior art director Jacinda Chu were joined by actors Yuri Lowenthal, Peter Parker, Najee Jeter, Miles Morales, Laura Bailey, Mary Jane Watson, and Tony Todd, Venom, along with VP and creative director Bill Roseman from Marvel Games, as they discussed the upcoming PlayStation 5 game Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Hall H was buzzing with excitement as Insomniac Games revealed their take on the monstrous Venom and how the symbiote plays a role in the sequel to the hit PlayStation games Marvel's Spider-Man and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. The energy of the crowd reached another level when the new story trailer was revealed, that everyone went wild over. San Diego Comic-Con has always been one of the most exciting times for Marvel fans. The trailer sets up our story in the game while also giving you your first full look at the monstrous Venom in Marvel's New York. Peter Parker and Miles Morales return for an exciting new adventure where they swing, jump, and utilize the new web wings to travel across Marvel's New York. Players can experience switching between both Spider-Men throughout the story, each with their own epic powers, as the iconic villain Venom threatens to destroy their lives, their city, and the ones they love. At the beginning of our story, our Spider-Men are at the top of their game, said Paquette. But both Peter Parker and Miles Morales are struggling with their personal lives. Miles is trying to find time to write his college entrance essay, but he keeps procrastinating and focusing on spider-work instead. Meanwhile, Peter is underwater on payments for Aunt May's house, but he can't sell, it means too much to him. And just like Miles, Peter tries, and fails, to find balance with so many responsibilities. MJ wants to help Pete with the mortgage, but her job is on the line now that Jonah Jameson is back at the Bugle and looking to clean house. Our heroes have arrived at a confluence of crossroads, with uncertain futures, and some tough decisions ahead. When Kraven's hunters arrive in the city, it sets off a mystery of why they are there and who, and what, they are hunting. But as the Spider-Men and MJ dig deeper into Kraven's motivations, the symbiote begins to threaten Marvel's New York and everyone and everything they hold dear. As many of you noticed in Marvel's Spider-Man 2's gameplay trailer from the PlayStation Showcase in May, Peter's new black suit affected his personality and gives him new, powerful symbiote abilities. You see bits of that in this trailer as well, and you can see Peter's symbiote powers tax his relationships with Miles, MJ and Harry. Given how much Miles Morales looks up to Peter for mentorship and guidance, this creates further problems. Beyond trying to figure out what's next for his life, Miles continues to struggle with the death of his father at the hands of Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative. As you saw from the trailer, you haven't seen the last of Mr. Negative. This trailer also provided some new looks at our expanded Marvel's New York. Now, you'll be able to swing across the East River and explore Brooklyn and Queens. Coney Island makes its debut as well in the trailer. As part of that recently held panel, the developers confirmed that Marvel's Spider-Man 2 will feature Aunt May's house. This classic location from the series wasn't included as mere fan service, but will actually factor into the game's overarching plot. More specifically, many of Peter Parker's early game struggles will revolve around Aunt May's house, not least because the protagonist will struggle to handle its mortgage payments. And while MJ will want to help him carry that burden, Parker's love interest from Marvel's Spider-Man will soon have to focus on her own problems, as the return of Jonah Jameson to the Daily Bugle will put her job on the line. Being able to play as a powerless Miles Morales and a mild-mannered Mary Jane was a great way for Insomniac to portray characters without abilities. This way, gameplay was made more dynamic at the cost of having it be arguably less interesting at times, especially because these sequences revolve almost entirely around stealth, which is less fun than when Spider-Man can sneakily pick enemies off one by one. That's what made Mary Jane's Grand Central Terminal level fun, since she put out hits on isolated inner demons for Peter to incapacitate. Otherwise, it would be difficult to find sequences where playing as Spider-Man was less fun than MJ or Miles. It would be surprising, then, if Insomniac has chosen to reprise these kinds of sequences in the sequel, but Marvel's Spider-Man 2 ironically establishes a wonderful moment to do so. Mary Jane's stealth was elementary and relatively unengaging while maneuvering through Tombstone's garage or within a Sable outpost, for example. Having her fleeing from Peter in a horrifying pursuit sequence could be exhilarating. If Marvel's Spider-Man 2 could emulate Mr. X from the Resident Evil 2 remake and depict Peter as a sinister pursuer enemy, playing as Mary Jane could be frightening with an appropriate length and jump scares. Mary Jane wouldn't be able to easily outrun Peter, but hiding here and there while evading him could be nerve-wracking until Miles suddenly appears to rescue her, and gameplay could swap to him for a boss fight, perhaps. It will be interesting to see why Peter is pursuing Mary Jane if that is what transpires in the sequence at all. But it could also turn out that she is simply hiding while he arrives someplace and he doesn't know she is there. Either way, Mary Jane likely thinks he is a threat at this point due to the dissociated lines of dialogue that are heard of hers while the shot is seen. He's not himself, and go help him. While talking to Miles, it's already been heavily teased that Miles' bioelectricity will be what repels the symbiote from Peter, but in the meantime, a pursuit sequence with Mary Jane running from a tendril-laden Peter could be a moment of horror that the universe should lean into. PlayStation has released a brand new trailer for its upcoming Spider-Man 2 PS5 game, which includes references to 3 villains that are unlikely to be featured in the game in an official capacity: Hydro Man, Big Wheel, and Speed Demon. Like its predecessor, the Spider-Man 2 game will have the titular Spider-Man going up against some of his most recognizable foes, including the Lizard, Kraven the Hunter, and Venom. All 3 of these villains were on display in the latest Spider-Man 2 game trailer, which was released as part of San Diego Comic-Con. The trailer begins with Peter introducing his friend Harry Osborn to fellow Spider-Man Miles Morales at a theme park. Prior to the introductions, fans can get a glimpse of multiple carnival rides and attractions, some of which seem to be clear nods to villains from old-school Spider-Man comic books. This was pointed out by various individuals on social media who noticed that the carnival attractions included nods to Spider-Man series villains. The Ferris wheel in the background is named Big Wheel, a reference to one of the most obscure and bizarre villains from Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, who is a criminal that quite literally uses a big wheel to wreak havoc. There's also a competitive water gun game called Hydro Bench, a nod to Hydro Man, whose alter ego is Morris Bench. And finally, the roller coaster is named Speed Demon, which is likely referencing the Marvel villain who originated as an Avengers baddie before later becoming more established as a Spider-Man villain. Besides the aforementioned Lizard, Kraven the Hunter, and Venom, the latest trailer also confirmed that Mr. Negative will be in Spider-Man 2 after first playing a major role. Martin Lee's Mr. Negative played a huge role in Marvel's Spider-Man's marketing and was the most substantial villain up until the unsurprising reveal of Otto Octavius' villainy. Martin was responsible for the death of Miles Morales' father, Jefferson Davis, and Miles was obviously particularly affected by this death when attending his funeral. However, since then, his father's death hasn't been brought up again with any significance, and the whereabouts of Martin himself were fairly confusing since the end of Marvel's Spider-Man. Now that he's back, another villain is sure to be caught up on, too. Martin is making an unexpected appearance in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 as revealed in the SDCC 2023 story trailer, albeit with a distinct look. Dressed in an orange collared shirt, it is surmised that he is still incarcerated at the Raft, but another breakout seems to have been caused by Yuri that has led both Spider-Men there to intervene while the prison is up in flames once more. Particulars aside, what is confirmed is that Miles will have a face-to-face with Martin that will hopefully provide both characters with closure. Martin looks painted to be a reformed citizen here, and it would be interesting to see Miles having to reconcile with this murderer having done the work thus far to stifle his inner demons. How Martin could be restrained and not simply escape using his abilities is another question, though his suppression of it may also demonstrate his willingness to be a better person following the events of Marvel's Spider-Man. Martin helps make Miles unique apart from other interpretations of the character as a result, and it'll be exciting to see how that conversation pans out for both of them. That said, if Insomniac is rehashing an important dynamic from the original game with Martin and Miles, it would not be out of the realm of possibility for Peter and Otto to be reunited as well. Otto was foundational in Peter's character development throughout Marvel's Spider-Man as a mentor and an employer. Otto becoming a villain was heartbreaking for Peter, and the epilogue tease of Otto staring menacingly into the camera is sure to have some importance down the line. It would muddy Marvel's Spider-Man 2 to try making him a villain again so soon. Since Peter and Miles will already seemingly be at the Raft, it would make sense for Peter and Otto to bump into each other the same way that Miles and Martin will. The trailer also featured Wraith turned into an anti-hero. With Insomniac taking the time to show Martin Lee in the trailer, he will surely have a big role, and that may extend beyond a test of Miles' morality. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 could be an exploration of Martin Lee's redemption, as he could be the key to defeating Venom. If the old bell tower trick and the usage of sound are not enough to eliminate the symbiote, and Venom pushes Miles and Peter to their limit, then using negative to alter the makeup of the alien parasite could be a perfect solution to the problem. For once, Negative could use his abilities for good, making up for some of the damage he caused. While Mr. Negative was not shown using his abilities in the sequel's latest trailer, it can be assumed that he will still be able to use them to some extent, even if he never wants to do so again. Just like in the comics, an interaction between Negative and the symbiote could result in the latter being altered. Instead of creating a dark side like his corruption does for regular human beings, Negative could purify Venom and create anti-Venom. Fans have pushed for a playable Venom for some time, and in order to achieve that in a T-14 setting, going the anti-Venom route makes perfect sense. Alongside Agent Venom, anti-Venom is one of the best ways to transform the character from a hateful monster and into a lethal protector. Not only is it easier to justify a playable Venom when he isn't a complete monster, but anti-Venom has hardly been used in a video game setting, with only Spider-Man: Edge of Time providing a look at the altered version of the symbiote. Not only would anti-Venom be a way to keep Peter's symbiote powers around after the story, and a route to make Venom playable in a game that lacks a mature rating, but anti-Venom's intriguing story could be perfect for a spin-off like Spider-Man Miles Morales. San Diego Comic-Con sheds an intimidating new light on the fan-favorite villain. While Spider-Man 2's design for Venom impressively captures his grotesque appearance, what may be more interesting to fans are the last few seconds of this trailer, which pokes the idea that Venom might be playable in its full potential. A limited edition Marvel Spider-Man 2 PlayStation 5 and matching DualSense controller were announced at the 2023 San Diego Comic-Con. The annual comic book convention has happened from July 20th to 23rd, and among the many anticipated SDCC panels was the Spider-Man 2 presentation, which featured a number of developers from Insomniac Games and some of the actors on the project. As well as chatting with the devs and actors, some more tidbits about the upcoming action-adventure game were revealed, including details about the plot and characters. The bundle will include themed console covers and DualSense wireless controller, a code for a digital standard copy of the game, and pre-order goodies. The accessories will also be available to purchase separately for those who already have a PS5. Pre-orders for the Marvel Spider-Man 2 bundle open on July 28th, and the individual items will launch on September 1st. The design of the covers and controller was created in collaboration with Insomniac Games, and the studio's senior art director, Jacinda Chu, provided more insight about the interesting theme. The design was inspired by the in-game symbiote that's taking over the console and controller, but you can still see some of the underlying red under the tendrils. The PlayStation 5 launched in November 2020, and along with the console's scarcity, many gamers were disappointed by the lack of limited edition versions in the years following. That drought seems to be coming to end, as Sony has begun releasing themed faceplates and controllers somewhat regularly. There has been a God of War Ragnarok controller, Final Fantasy XVI console covers and DualSense available in limited areas, and the LeBron James PS5 covers and controller come out on July 27. Fans looking to pick up the Marvel Spider-Man 2 limited edition PS5 may be out of luck, as the console has reportedly now sold out across multiple retailers. Within just hours of pre-orders being opened for the Spider-Man consoles, several retailers are already showing the consoles as sold out. Pre-orders for the console are reportedly listed as sold out across Walmart, GameStop, Best Buy, Amazon and Target among others. The console is also listed as currently unavailable through Sony's PlayStation Direct storefront, both for the disc and digital versions of the console. PlayStation has even instituted a virtual queue for users looking to pick up the PS5, with a large volume of customers attempting to buy the console. The Marvel Spider-Man 2 bundle, on the other hand, will be the first themed PS5 released since the console launched. Fans of Insomniac's Spider-Man games are particularly excited about the third entry in the highly successful franchise because it will feature Peter Parker and Miles Morales working together, with both being playable characters. The universe's notorious symbiote has also bonded with Peter, and many gamers are hopeful that Venom might be playable in Marvel's Spider-Man 2, even if just for a short while. The hype for this experience is through the roof and marketing has been already kicked off. Speaking of Marvel, following its work on 2018's acclaimed Marvel Spider-Man, gamers were justifiably excited when Insomniac Games announced it would be placing the spotlight on Wolverine for its next Marvel-related title after Spider-Man 2. With almost 2 years having passed since the announcement of Marvel's Wolverine at the 2021 PlayStation Showcase, though, some fans of the Claude Canadian are growing tired of waiting for his arrival. But given Wolverine's prominent role in Deadpool 3 and recent trends in gaming, that film's now uncertain future could mean an even longer wait for Marvel's Wolverine. Although the early 2000s heyday of nearly every blockbuster film having a tie-in video game has long since passed, it's not uncommon for movies and games set in the same universe to be in development at the same time. But, as those who've been following the repeated release delays for Ubisoft's Avatar Frontiers of Pandora have learned, even when a movie and game aren't direct tie-ins, delays in the schedule for one are often echoed by the other, also evident by the Across the Spider-Verse movie and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. With the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike putting production on the Wolverine-heavy Deadpool 3 in limbo for the moment, if Marvel's Wolverine follows this trend it could potentially be a long wait before its release. Unlike Wolverine's last major video game, 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine, Insomniac Games' Marvel's Wolverine has no connections to a Wolverine film. With no movie tie-in, Wolverine's release probably shouldn't be affected by Deadpool 3's delays. But recent history suggests that the delays for the film could still have an impact on the launch of the game. Whether as a result of marketing decisions or pure chance, it's been rare in recent years for films and games in the same franchise to be released in the same time window. Ubisoft's Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, initially meant to launch ahead of the second film, is a recent example of this trend but far from the only one. Avalanche Studios' Mad Max, which like Marvel's Wolverine features the title character in a story wholly separate from his film appearance, didn't arrive on consoles and PC until several months after the release of Mad Max Fury Road. Even if Marvel's Wolverine manages to be ready for launch long before Deadpool 3, though, Sony could still choose to hold back the game for purely financial reasons. Assuming that development on Marvel's Wolverine finishes before the release of Deadpool 3, Sony might still decide to delay the game in order to cash in on the hype surrounding the movie. Whereas, Sony owns the film rights for Spider-Man, meaning it can make money on both the webhead's big screen appearances and his console outings, the film rights for Wolverine belong to Fox. Unable to capitalize on Wolverine's appearance in Deadpool 3 directly, the best financial move for Sony could be to hold back Marvel's Wolverine until after the film's release to cash in on excitement around the character. While such a decision might draw some gamers' ire, it could also give Insomniac Games a bit of breathing room to finish the game without forcing developers to crunch. After Marvel's Wolverine was a no-show at PlayStation Showcase 2023, many gamers already assumed the studio was focusing its resources on finishing Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and pushing back Wolverine could allow it to do just that. This extra development time could result in both superhero titles being released in a better state than they might have otherwise. Until Insomniac Games provides some definitive answers, fans will just have to wait to see what the future holds for Marvel's Wolverine. NetherRealm Studios confirms 6 DLC characters who will be part of the first Kombat pack for Mortal Kombat 1. While rumors about Mortal Kombat 1 DLC characters have become a hot topic for many fans, NetherRealm Studios have not publicly commented on their validity. Nonetheless, the rumored names have been received positively, which shows that there is a lot of buzz surrounding the upcoming reboot. The Mortal Kombat community continues to speculate on who will make the final roster. A seemingly leaked Mortal Kombat 1 roster looks to confirm the presence of a lot of obscure characters, apart from the usual pillars. The list mentions names which haven't been seen in a while. While the leak is still a rumor at this point, Mortal Kombat co-creator Ed Boon has given many clues and hints as to who the developers are looking to include in the game. However, at least the rumors surrounding downloadable content may be put to rest, as Mortal Kombat 1 has officially confirmed 6 combatants. In the official Kombat Pack roster reveal trailer, Invincible's Omni-Man can be seen in the video. Ermac, DC's Peacemaker, Quan Chi, and Takeda soon follow as they are revealed on screen. Finally, The Boys Homelander appears at the end, confirming the previous Mortal Kombat 1 leak. The diverse cast of characters in this pack may imply that NetherRealm is really listening to fan reaction while still considering its goal to bring back obscure names. However, one of the more surprising elements is that of Peacemaker. The character himself looks to be the official DCU version, with what looks to be WWE superstar John Cena's likeness reflected. John Cena is fully committed in his role as Peacemaker, even going so far as to attend events dressed as the character. It might be hard to separate the character from the actor, so NetherRealm did a pretty good job of securing that license. While NetherRealm has yet to confirm if Cena will also voice the character, this out-of-nowhere crossover is one that many fans will enjoy. The presence of Takeda, Quan Chi, and Ermac balances out the list, as these are classic Mortal Kombat characters. Admittedly, while many would probably have preferred the appearance of the 3 non-MK superpowered guests in NetherRealm Studios' Injustice series, there has been no announcement of a new game in that franchise. In recent years, the team has enjoyed the formula of releasing a mix of collaboration characters from big franchises with series regulars to much success, and perhaps the developers want to continue that trend. Hopefully, this announcement can quell some concerns about the roster, and drum up more interest for Mortal Kombat 1. Subverting Kal-El's origin story, Omni-Man comes from the warrior civilization of Viltrumites and embodies the strict code of his people. While his acts of extreme violence throughout Invincible make Nolan Grayson seem psychotic, he actually possesses a strict sense of honor that drives his controlled brutality. Season 2 of Invincible is on the way, and it is set to see Nolan's arc progress past his previous villainy as he develops into a more nuanced anti-hero role. Far removed from the spiraling psyche of Homelander, there is great potential for Omni-Man to define his own niche in Mortal Kombat. Likely to end up employing a brawler playstyle, Nolan naturally lacks projectiles and focuses on utilizing his devastating physical strength through trained Viltrumite techniques. The morally complex Omni-Man may be a near-godly being when compared to the average human, but his control over his power allows him to operate just as tactically as he maintains his sense of warrior's dignity. Strong basic attacks and intense mobility are likely to characterize Omni-Man's gameplay, which would deviate from Injustice's Superman effectively. One of the most memorable scenes from Invincible came from Mark's inevitable showdown with his father, Omni-Man. With the two coming to serious disagreements regarding their species' place as superior to humans, the father and son have an extensive fight through some densely populated areas. The carnage of this battle is befitting of their power levels, leaving a disturbing wake of death and destruction. One segment takes the fight to a subway train station, where Omni-Man holds Mark up in the path of a moving train. The strength of both characters annihilates the train and its passengers as it comes towards them, while still dealing small amounts of damage to Mark and his father. This could be perfect for a Mortal Kombat fatality, with Omni-Man gruesomely finishing a foe in the same manner, leaving behind only a pool of gore. Another iconic Omni-Man scene came from a fight between himself and his son, more specifically his self-justifying monologue after winning the battle. During this, Omni-Man delivered the "Think, Mark, Invincible" line, which became a massively popular meme around the time of the show's release. A Mortal Kombat Omni-Man fatality would be wise to take from this piece of recent pop culture, with Omni-Man doing the famous pose in front of his beaten opponent after a severe beatdown. With it being confirmed that J.K. Simmons will reprise his role as Omni-Man in Mortal Kombat 1, a similar line delivery could even be made with the character directly addressing whoever he is fighting against. Omni-Man's lengthy fight against the Guardians of the Globe is arguably the most shocking and gruesome scene in all of Invincible. With Omni-Man having been a member of the Guardians, his act of betrayal is only made more uncomfortable by the sadistic and brutal way he slaughters his former hero companions. This scene in particular could draw inspiration for a variety of finishers, but the way in which Omni-Man deals with the Immortal perhaps has the most utility for Mortal Kombat 1. The Immortal was the last hero standing in the Guardians' fight against Omni-Man, eventually being brought to his knees by a punch that went clean through his stomach. In a predictably cold manner, Omni-Man answered Immortal's question of "why?" by decapitating him with a backhand karate chop. This exact sequence would be a great fit for a Mortal Kombat fatality, being brutal enough to stand out by itself but also taking direct inspiration from one of the most memorable scenes in the entire show. It is clear to see why Omni-Man was chosen for a Mortal Kombat power, with the character having a handful of standout moments that fall perfectly in line with the franchise's penchant for brutal and high-octane fatalities. The boy's Homelander, despite his similarities to Omni-Man on the surface, is actually a highly distinct, much more psychopathic character at his core. Perfect for the signature ultra-violence of Mortal Kombat, Homelander has shown himself to have no remorse for his heartless abuses of power. An artificial creation of the sinister corporation Vought International, Homelander inherently lacks many of the basic traits that make up a healthy human personality. Homelander is far from Omni-Man through his status as a cold, attention-seeking narcissist with no true moral code, and his gameplay is the perfect opportunity to showcase this. One of the fundamental aspects of the character as shown in The Boys is that Homelander lacks actual fighting skill or training due to the immense power he innately possesses. Oftentimes abusing signature Superman abilities like his laser vision in place of utilizing actual combat techniques, he actually fits perfectly into the infamous Zoner archetype. An egotistical god among men, Homelander could carve out his own niche through a raw, untrained fighting style that properly conveys his complete disconnection from tradition. Despite sharing inspiration, Omni-Man is ultimately still the same flavor of comic book guest in Mortal Kombat that Spawn previously brought to the table, while Homelander has opened the door to TV's darkest characters. On the gameplay side, one of the biggest additions is set to be cameo fighters who can be called in to provide assists during a match, with its roster featuring retro versions of Sonya Blade, Sub-Zero, and Kano to name a few. It was known more would be added to the roster in subsequent DLC releases, and players now know who will be the first additions to Mortal Kombat 1 thanks to YouTuber Uncaged Gomez, who was in attendance at NetherRealm's San Diego Comic-Con panel. He revealed the post-launch cameo roster additions will be Farah, Johnny Cage, Chameleon, Movado, and Tremor. Chameleon has also been rumored to be a cameo fighter in the game after players speculated she was a background character in the reveal trailer for Li Mei, Tanya, and Baraka. In some of the shots of Mortal Kombat 1's Umgadi trailer, fans have potentially spotted Chameleon in the background of some cutscenes while Li Mei is having a conversation with Tanya. This background character possesses the same translucent hair and pupil-less eyes associated with Chameleon. Uniform that this character sports is also a part of the Umgadi, further strengthening her connection. One fan speculated that since Chameleon is allied with Tanya, who is also an ally of Melina, that the character's uniform could change colors depending on who she's working with in the story outside of gameplay. This was a feature from the early games as well, where Chameleon would change colors to adapt to who she was fighting. Regardless, Chameleon is one of Mortal Kombat's more obscure ninja characters, so the potential to have her as a cameo or even full-fledged fighter is an exciting prospect for fans. According to a report by Comic Book, the third Mortal Kombat 1 trailer shown at San Diego Comic-Con features Motaro, Nitara, and Reiko. One of the franchise's more unique characters, Motaro is a four-legged centaurian who first appeared in Mortal Kombat 3. Nitara, meanwhile, is a winged vampire who debuted in 2002's Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, while Reiko is an Outworld character who first appeared in Mortal Kombat 4. All three of these characters had cameos in Mortal Kombat 11, but it seems they will have bigger roles to play in Mortal Kombat 1. It has yet to be specified if they will be full-fledged members of the roster, cameo fighters, or simply appear in story mode cutscenes, however. A new rumor potentially reveals all 6 playable characters and 5 cameo fighters that will make up Mortal Kombat 1 DLC Pack 2. Mortal Kombat 1 Combat Pack 2 will include Anub Saibot, Kano, and Serena with Harley Quinn, Deathstroke, and Doomslayer as the guest fighters. Fans should always wait for an official announcement before getting too excited, but Mortal Kombat 1 DLC leaks have proven correct in the past, so there is a chance that this one is also accurate. As far as cameo fighters go, the leaks claim Rain, Dramim, Bo Rai Cho, Su Hao, and Moloch will round out the list. Since Kano was a part of the original Mortal Kombat game's base roster, some fans may be disappointed to learn that he has seemingly been relegated to DLC in Mortal Kombat 1. After all, Mortal Kombat 1 is meant to be a reboot of the franchise, and so some may have hoped that all the original fighters would be included in the launch lineup. Regardless, others will be happy to see Kano is still making it to the game in some capacity, even if it will be a long wait for him. As far as the guest fighters go, it makes sense to include more DC Comics characters. Mortal Kombat has a storied history with DC, from the Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe fighting game to various crossover characters between the two franchises that have happened in the years since. Doomslayer was previously rumored for Mortal Kombat 11, so perhaps he's finally making his debut in Mortal Kombat 1. The new roster looks incredible, featuring series staples such as Sub-Zero and Raiden, but also combatants that haven't featured in a while, such as Smoke. Mortal Kombat 1 has a unique chance with the timeline reset to create a more streamlined and better narrative for the Mortal Kombat universe which isn't confusing or self-contradicting. With the recent exhibition at the San Diego Comic-Con, players have been spoiled with not only the Combat Pack reveal but also detailed story trailers which have highlighted some key new changes. Outworld and by relation Ednea have always had a simple premise in the Mortal Kombat universe. Shao Kahn rules Outworld, takes over Ednea, and marries Queen Sindel, placing Kitana in a precarious situation. This has always been the case in the series, barely has the pre-Shao Ednea and its nuances been given any attention. Now, however, there are some big changes. Shao Kahn is General Shao and is a trusted ally of the Edenian royal family and, thus, of Mileena and Kitana. Recent reveals at Comic-Con have, however, shown that conflict is arising. Li Mei is shown in a clip to be investigating with Liu Kang. They discover that General Shao, along with Reiko, is plotting to take over Ednea once again. One Malawian Kwacha seems to be inclined to actually show a power struggle between Mileena and Kitana with General Shao, and there's also some interesting potential regarding Liu Kang's perfect world crumbling. Even after he changed everything, some parts of history seem doomed to repeat themselves. Umgadi are warrior priestesses. They are chosen from Outworld's firstborn daughters to protect the royal family. Li Mei was the initial leader of the Umgadi, but she was removed after Kitana and Mileena's father, presumably King Jared, died, as always. The Umgadi seems to be a unique new premise for the series. Li Mei has been shunned by her peers after her failures, and the new order under Tanya is shown to be rash and ignoring caution. It will be interesting to see if the Umgadi remain staunch protectors of the royal family during the power struggle or whether they turn towards an allegiance with General Shao and Reiko. Queen Sindel's relationship with the Umgadi is also one that could be interesting. While this wasn't directly revealed in the trailers but rather confirmed during a fan panel, it has been confirmed that the Scorpion we see in all the trailers is Kuai Liang. While this makes his involvement in the Lin K make more sense, it does beg the question, what happened to Hanzo Hasashi? It will be interesting to see the struggles between the rash and ambitious Bai-Han and his stoic and moral brother Kuai Liang. Additionally, it opens the possibility to explore the development of Hanzo's character independent of the Scorpion mantle. Maybe Hanzo leads the Shirai Ryu as a warrior now rather than a revenant. Takeda's inclusion in the combat pack also raises eyebrows, as he was a member of the new Shirai Ryu in the MKX comics. Perhaps the biggest change revealed in the new trailer is the changes to Baraka and his fellow Tarkatans. Tarkat is a disease which, as Baraka describes, disfigures and then debilitates. Victims of Tarkat are shown to be subject to violence and oppression and seemingly shunned by society. Baraka is also openly critical of Liu Kang for his lack of assistance to those afflicted by this disease. What makes matters more interesting is the fact that Mileena is suffering from the early stages of Tarkat as well. It is likely that this disease is how she'll slowly transform into her more traditional look. There seems to be a subplot here regarding how those with Tarkat are treated, and Mileena and Tanya are shown to be hiding her secret. Tanya seems to have the largest role she's had in a Mortal Kombat game's story probably ever. She is shown to be the new leader of the Umgadi and is in open conflict with Li Mei, who she does not trust. Additionally, she is seemingly dismissive towards the threats to the royal family that Li Mei and Lu Nag warn her of. Some fans have been speculating she has a role in King Jared's death, or at least in blaming it on Li Mei, but it is too soon to confirm that. Tanya's relationship with Mileena also seems to be a big plot point in the Outworld arc of One Malawian Kwacha, and it is exciting to see how this would develop with Mileena's affliction and the imminent invasion by General Shao. NetherRealm has confirmed the beta dates, characters, stages, and cameo fighters that will be featured in the Mortal Kombat 1 beta test, available to those who have pre-ordered the highly anticipated fighting game. Some lucky Mortal Kombat players have already had the chance to play the game thanks to a previous test, and now even more fans will get to try Mortal Kombat 1 ahead of its September launch. The Mortal Kombat 1 beta test takes place from August 18th to August 21st for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X gamers that have pre-ordered the game. Those participating in the beta test will have 6 characters to choose from: Liu Kang, Sub-Zero, Kenshir, Kitana, Johnny Cage, and Li Mei. There will also be 4 cameo fighters to choose from in the form of Kano, Sonya, Jax, and Frost. Mortal Kombat 1 pre-order beta testers will have the chance to fight it out on the Tea House and Johnny Cage's Mansion stages. Of course, Mortal Kombat 1's full release will have more playable characters, cameo fighters, and stages available. The beta is really just a taste of what fans can expect, as the full Mortal Kombat 1 base game roster also includes Baraka, Kung Lao, Mileena, Raiden, Rain, franchise mainstay Scorpion, Smoke, Reiko, and Tanya. It's possible that there will be even more Mortal Kombat 1 base game roster members as well. An additional character will be available to anyone that pre-orders the game. Mortal Kombat 1 pre-orders not only give fans access to the August 18th to August 21st beta test, but it also gets them longtime MK villain Shang Tsung as well. Those that choose not to pre-order Mortal Kombat 1 will still have the option of purchasing Shang Tsung separately if they so desire. NetherRealm plans on supporting Mortal Kombat 1 for quite a long time, so fans can expect plenty of updates and perhaps even more DLC beyond the initial Combat Pack. Potential Mortal Kombat 1 Combat Pack 2 DLC characters have already leaked online, so it will be interesting to see if those leaked characters end up making it into the game or not. A new Borderlands project was recently announced in the form of Borderlands Echovision Live. First released in 2009, the Borderlands franchise has had 3 mainline games, 7 spin-off games, and soon, a movie directed by Eli Roth. It's been almost 4 years since Borderlands 3 was released, and many fans have been anticipating the arrival of the 4th game. Although developer Gearbox technically hasn't confirmed that Borderlands 4 is coming, there were hints in the past that it was working on a new Borderlands title. During this year's San Diego Comic-Con, SDCC, Gearbox announced its upcoming interactive series called Borderlands Echovision Live. Made in partnership with Genvid Entertainment, it will be a community-led game similar to Silent Hill Ascension, where the audience will be given the power to choose the character's fates. According to GameSpot, the story will revolve around 8 aspiring vault hunters, who take a tour of Eden 6, but suddenly find themselves stuck in the town of Greywater Junction. The entire series will then focus on how they'll survive and fend off bandits as they try to find a way out. In a press release, Genvid Entertainment CEO Jacob Novak said participants would get the chance to make a mark in Borderlands Echovision Live, and also warned that all decisions in the series would be final. As for the characters, Genvid Entertainment Chief Creative Officer Stefan Bugaj noted that it will feature all new people from the Borderlands universe, which might mean that the likes of Handsome Jack might not make an appearance. Right now, the interactive project doesn't have a release date yet. Interactive series like Borderlands Echovision Live seem to be a growing gaming genre, especially with the rise of streaming platforms like Twitch and Kick. Although it might not be Borderlands for like many players expected, the series could still become a hit because of Borderlands' rich story and world building. Plus, it seemed like players loved calling the shots in the franchise's story with the popularity of 2014's Tales from the Borderlands and its 2022 sequel New Tales from the Borderlands. Meanwhile, those who have been waiting for Borderlands for news might have to wait a little more. 2 Borderlands games were released just last year, and with Borderlands Echovision Live coming sometime soon, the 4th game might take a little longer to develop. On the bright side, longtime fans can still kill time with the current titles. Publisher Game Mill Entertainment has announced that Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 is coming out this year. Following months of rumors and leaks of an All-Star Brawl sequel, developers Ludosity and Fair Play Labs finally made it official in an announcement trailer, offering a glimpse of what fans can expect. While platform brawlers like All-Star Brawl haven't been the biggest hits in the gaming sphere, general interest in the subgenre has seen a notable uptick in recent times. Game Mill's 2021 title offered the potential for a better version in a sequel, though the studio made little to no noise on a follow-up to All-Star Brawl since its release. But as rumors began to surface more frequently, particularly around roster additions like SpongeBob Squidward and Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it appears the developer has moved to make an official teaser in hopes of building excitement. According to Game Mill, All-Star Brawl 2 will ship with new super abilities, updated mechanics, and new offensive and defensive options. The publisher promises a fresh new take on platform fighting gameplay, and that it will include a single-player campaign that incorporates roguelike mechanics into an original story. While the new All-Star Brawl will also feature mini-games, boss rush, and a new arcade mode, other additions like full crossplay for all platforms and improved graphics should entice players all the same. While an exact release date hasn't been specified yet, All-Star Brawl 2 is scheduled to release later this year on Nintendo Switch, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. As of now, All-Star Brawl 2's roster includes characters like SpongeBob, Squidward, Rocco, Jenny, Zim, Reptar, and Garfield on its official website. Of course, the full roster is bound to feature a wider plethora of characters from its own franchises, with previous All-Star Brawl 2 leaks suggesting that the likes of El Tigre and Vlad Plasmius from Danny Phantom are also set to appear. If the announcement trailer is anything to go by, GameMill's upcoming platform brawler won't have any shortage of familiar characters, and the publisher will likely follow up with more announcements in the coming months. Interestingly, Nickelodeon isn't the only universe GameMill has set its eyes on at the moment. The publisher also has DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing in the works, which will bring back Shrek into games after over a decade, alongside other DreamWorks characters like Puss in Boots, Pa and Tigress from the Kung Fu Panda series, and others. The Chinese tech giant Tencent has just become the major shareholder of Techland, the maker of the famous Dying Light series. This is the biggest change in the company in the last few years, and it comes during the development of a yet untitled fantasy RPG currently being developed by Techland. Founded back in 1991 by its CEO Paweł Markiewicz, Techland is a video game developer based in Poland. The publisher is mostly known these days for the Dying Light franchise, which has been its focus during the last decade. Before that, Techland developed 4 games for the Western Call of Juarez series, and also the first Dead Island, as well as its sequel Dead Island Riptide. So, while Dying Light 2 got mixed reception, there's still plenty of talent in the company, as well as some fairly popular IPs. Techland announced that the majority of its shares were bought by the Chinese technology giant Tencent via a blog post written by Markiewicz. Markiewicz affirmed that the company will retain full ownership of its intellectual properties and maintain total creative freedom, with Markiewicz retaining his position. It's still early to tell what this will mean for Techland, but the official statement is reassuring for fans who may be afraid that the acquisition could lead to creative intervention. This is yet another step in Tencent's journey of acquiring more studios and increasing its stake in other game developers and publishers. Last year, Tencent made a huge investment in Ubisoft and is currently continuing to increase its portfolio of investments. Another highlight of recent years was the acquisition of the Sackboy A Big Adventures developer Sumo Group, which cost $1.27 billion, one of the largest acquisitions ever made by the Chinese technology giant. At the moment, Techland is working on an open-world fantasy action RPG, which was not officially titled yet. According to previous information shared by the developers, the new title will feature full open-world exploration and be significantly distinct from Dying Light 2 in both tone and gameplay. The game was described as an epic narrative adventure with an exotic open world to be explored and a focus on the story. Unfortunately, there's not much information about this upcoming game yet, so fans will have to wait for a while before they can learn more. Capcom has revealed the acquisition of computer animation company Swordcanes Studio, with the smaller studio having previously worked on multiple times for the developer. Studio acquisitions have become big news in gaming throughout recent years, with several high-profile studios being acquired and absorbed into larger conglomerates. Now, Capcom is throwing itself into the mix, picking up a minor studio it has frequently partnered with. While many fans may not recognize Swordcanes Studio's name immediately, the computer graphics studio has provided instrumental work for several big-ticket games for Capcom. Swordcanes Studio would provide animation work for Capcom on 2 of the developer's biggest titles of recent years in Street Fighter VI and Monster Hunter Rise. The animation company has also worked with other studios on production elements. Having worked on major Capcom titles in the past, the publisher acquired Swordcanes to substantially bolster its developmental and technological capabilities. Swordcanes has experience in 3D character modeling, environment creation, and animation. The studio has also contributed to Final Fantasy XVI, Hi-Fi Rush, New Pokémon Snap, and the Monster Hunter series. Now, Swordcanes Studio will strengthen its partnership with Capcom further by becoming a subsidiary of the iconic developer. An official announcement from Capcom has revealed the developer's purchase of Swordcanes Studio, officially making the animation studio a subsidiary of Capcom. The announcement cited Capcom's long-running partnership with Swordcanes on several of its major games, feeling that the Street Fighter VI support studio's strength lies in 3D computer graphics production. According to its official statement, Capcom paid a total of 8 million yen to acquire Swordcanes Studio, the equivalent of just over $55,000. While Capcom's purchase of Swordcanes Studio comes as a relatively minor acquisition meant to boost the company's own productions, other recent purchases have been grander in scope. Capcom's acquisition of Swordcanes Studio follows a strong release for the two studios' most recent collaboration in Street Fighter VI. Street Fighter VI would break records on Steam for concurrent player count on a fighting game and reported surpassing the 2 million units sold milestone within just a month. Since its launch, Street Fighter VI has already begun to debut DLC characters, most recently adding Street Fighter V veteran Rashid to the game earlier this week. Capcom's newfound acquisition of Swordcanes Studio will look to help the developer bolster its 3D animations even more in future projects. Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt Red has announced major layoffs that will affect a sizable portion of the company's workforce. This bit of news that's likely to dishearten some CDPR staffers arrived mere months after the Witcher developer received widespread praise for offering menstrual leave to employees. Workforce cutbacks remain a fairly standard practice across the gaming space, not least because the cyclical nature of game development frequently leaves studios with staff redundancies. Take-Two Interactive, Relic Entertainment, Team 17, 343 Industries, and BioWare have all been hit with layoffs in 2023, among many other developers and publishers. CD Projekt Red will soon be joining that list of downsizing video game companies, with CEO Adam Kaczynski saying as much in a July 26 organizational update. The executive explained that the studio concluded it's overstaffed following careful deliberation, having consequently decided to lay off some 100 people, which equates to approximately 9% of its workforce. The cutbacks are not going into immediate effect, with some of them being planned for as late as the first quarter of 2024. Nevertheless, CD Projekt Red decided to communicate them well in advance in order to provide the affected staffers with enough time to find other employment. In the meantime, the company is planning to offer comprehensive severance packages to all of its workers that will soon find themselves out of a job. Kaczynski framed the incoming downsizing as part of the studio's wider efforts to reshape its teams and development practices in order to produce high-quality games with no delays or crunch time. CDPR VP of PR and Communication Michael Platkowgaluski already hinted at that undertaking in late June, when he said that the Cyberpunk 2077 developer needs to repair its relationship with fans. While it remains to be seen whether the studio manages to avoid further downsizing following this newly confirmed round of layoffs. The timing of its latest announcement suggests that the incoming cutbacks might also result from the cyclical nature of game development instead of just the company's ongoing team transformations, as meaningful as those might be. More specifically, CD Projekt Red has 6 projects in the works right now, but only one of them, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, is slated to hit the market in the foreseeable future. Affected employees will receive a comprehensive severance package. The news comes after the developer announced layoffs of Gwent's remaining team last month, as production ended for the Witcher spin-off. Kaczynski also highlighted in the blog post that the developer is undergoing several deep transformations within the studio to make quality games on time and without crunch. Once that expansion releases on September 26, CDPR will be left with 5 early-stage projects, 1 original IP, 3 The Witcher games, and the sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. While some of those titles might have already left pre-production, their combined requirements don't offer enough opportunities for the entirety of CDPR's existing workforce. Kaczynski said as much in his latest public address, all the while wishing success to the company's soon-to-be former employees in their future endeavors. Fans of Ubisoft's action-adventure game Immortals Fenyx Rising will be disappointed to hear that a sequel for the game has reportedly been cancelled. Immortals Fenyx Rising may not have proven to be the success story that Ubisoft was hoping for, but it nonetheless delivered a charming, action-packed adventure. Immortals Fenyx Rising was first announced at E3 2019, though it went by the name Gods and Monsters at the time. In 2020, the game was renamed Immortals Fenyx Rising, delayed, and saw a significant reworking of the project. That led to a more action-focused gameplay experience with much more humor and flashier combat. While Immortals Fenyx Rising may not have become an overnight success, many saw it as the first effort in what could be an increasingly exciting franchise. But that no longer seems to be the case. A report from VGC states that multiple developers have confirmed a sequel to Immortals Fenyx Rising was in early development at Ubisoft. However, that project was cancelled by Ubisoft leadership in early June, citing challenges around establishing the IP. Ubisoft announced in January that it would be strategically refocusing its development resources on its biggest brands, like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and various Tom Clancy shooters. It confirmed the cancellations of 3 unannounced projects, building off of 4 prior cancellations in mid-2022. A future for the Immortals Fenyx Rising franchise appears to not be in Ubisoft's plans either. Concerns also followed after Ubisoft announced it would focus on its more established video game properties. Ubisoft responded to a recently emerged rumor that it cancelled the sequel to Immortals Fenyx Rising. And while the company avoided outright confirming that claim, its official comments do not exactly inspire confidence that another Immortals Fenyx Rising game is on the horizon. Ubisoft Quebec was said to have soon started working on a follow-up title, with one known industry insider previously labeling that game codenamed Oxygen as more of a spin-off than a conventional sequel. The same leaker also revealed the alleged setting of Immortals Fenyx Rising 2 in July 2022, which was the last bit of unofficial info about the project until its cancellation report emerged a year later. Ubisoft promptly responded to the rumor that it cancelled the Immortals Fenyx Rising sequel by stating that it recently shifted some creative resources and priorities at its Quebec studio. As a result of that move, a portion of Ubisoft Quebec's workforce has now moved on to other unannounced projects, a company official told VGC. Reading between the lines, that comment seems to imply that an Immortals Fenyx Rising sequel was indeed in the works at some point. And while Ubisoft didn't offer a direct update on the project's current status, its response suggests that the game's development team has been downsized at best or disbanded at worst. Whatever the fate of the Immortals Fenyx Rising sequel might be, project cancellations are nothing out of the ordinary for the France-based gaming giant. In fact, Ubisoft cancelled over half a dozen games since mid-2022. The company might even scrap additional titles in the coming months, as its strategic pivot toward its largest franchises is still ongoing. An array of projects has since been announced by Ubisoft, including this fall's Assassin's Creed Mirage. Altogether, there are reportedly 11 Assassin's Creed games in development. There's also Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, a new Prince of Persia game, the free-to-play Tom Clancy's The Division Resurgence, and the recently revealed Star Wars Outlaws. It's easy to see why Immortals Fenyx Rising was seen as less of a priority than the other big-name projects. Even if an Immortals Fenyx Rising sequel was still in development, it would be a very long way off. Immortals Fenyx Rising developer Ubisoft Quebec is currently working on Assassin's Creed codename Red, which will be set in Japan. That game is likely years away from release, meaning Ubisoft Quebec won't have time for another game for a while. Perhaps once Assassin's Creed codename Red comes out, Ubisoft will be more open to continuing Immortals Fenyx Rising again. A free-to-play multiplayer shooter on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox will be shutting down, as Bandai Namco has confirmed it's bringing Gundam Evolution to the end of its lifespan. Bandai Namco says that Gundam Evolution will be shut down in November, just over 1 year after the game's launch. The developers of Gundam Evolution thank all the game's players for their support but say that future development can't be sustained in a way that will keep players happy. Gundam Evolution is a free-to-play team-based shooter with 6 players facing off against 6 opponents in objective-focused match types. It is, in many ways, an Overwatch-inspired Gundam game where the characters are replaced with mobile suits. Each mobile suit is drawn from popular Gundam anime, manga, and video games, and wields weapons and powers taken directly from its source material. Gundam Evolution also featured an in-game battle pass for monetization, as well as loot boxes for unlocking content of different rarities. The development team at Bandai Namco Online announced Thursday morning that Gundam Evolution's online service will officially end on November 29th. The game will remain live and available to play across all platforms, which include PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S, until that date. In explanation for the decision, Bandai Namco says that it is no longer possible for us to provide a service that satisfies our players. Updates for Gundam Evolution will continue to be issued in Season 6, which starts on August 23rd, and in the game's final season, starting October 25th. A new playable Gundam mobile suit will be added with both updates, and 2 and 1 new maps, respectively. Bandai Namco says that it wants to ensure that Gundam Evolution players can enjoy the game to its fullest, till the very end. A final mission briefing livestream will be held on July 21st at 11 p.m. Pacific Time to discuss all remaining plans for Gundam Evolution. Executive producer Kazuya Maruyama said, "We wanted to create a title that brought FPS fans and Gundam fans together. We challenged ourselves to create an authentic Gundam FPS game that could be played globally. Unfortunately, we have determined that it is no longer possible for us to provide a service that satisfies our players. We want to express our gratitude to everyone who has played the game and supported us to this point. An apology is also written into the announcement, from the development team at Bandai Namco Online. While the apology doesn't go into the team's feelings, or explore what may have gone wrong or what could have been different, the team does express gratitude to all of Gundam Evolution's players. It can't be easy for developers to shut down a game that hasn't even been live for a year. The writing has unfortunately been on the wall for Gundam Evolution for some time. At least on Steam, concurrent players of Gundam Evolution went from a healthy 56,000 down to less than 2,000 within 2 months. Gundam Evolution received mixed reception, with criticism focused on matchmaking, balance, slow updates, and uncharitable monetization. Unlocking new mobile suits, often the strongest Gundam units in the game, was especially time-consuming and difficult without paying real money. Unfortunately, the time for Gundam Evolution to receive improvements has passed. Following years of rumors and speculation, Microsoft is officially ending its Xbox Live Gold subscription service and replacing it with a tier of Game Pass called Xbox Game Pass Core. Xbox Live Gold's potential demise has been rumored since the introduction of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and its online multiplayer support. Now it's finally happening. Combine that with Microsoft clearly putting less effort into games with Gold to focus on bolstering the Game Pass lineup, and the writing has been on the wall for the classic Xbox Live service for quite some time. On September 14th, Xbox Live Gold is going away and being replaced by Xbox Game Pass Core. Xbox Game Pass Core will cost $10 per month or $60 per year, so in line with what Xbox Live Gold currently costs. It will not include monthly free games, but will instead give subscribers access to a small selection of Game Pass titles. Any free games with Gold games that have already been claimed will carry over. Microsoft plans on updating the list of Xbox Game Pass Core games 2 to 3 times per year. What's not clear about this big change is what it means for those who may still be playing online games on Xbox 360. Xbox Game Pass is not a part of the Xbox 360 ecosystem. But it's possible that since Xbox Game Pass Core is effectively the same thing as Xbox Live Gold and it comes to online multiplayer support, that there will be no big changes for 360 gamers to worry. In any case, the introduction of Xbox Game Pass Core means Xbox effectively has 4 different versions of Game Pass on offer. Xbox Game Pass Core, the vanilla version of Game Pass for consoles, PC Game Pass, and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Xbox Live Gold users will automatically transfer to Game Pass Core members in September at no additional cost. The news of Game Pass Core comes a month after it was reported that the Xbox Series X and Game Pass price would increase in various countries. Xbox Game Pass subscribers aren't happy about one missing feature following the reveal of Xbox Game Pass Core. Xbox Game Pass offers exclusive deals and several games each month, and Xbox Game Pass Core serves as both the base subscription tier and the direct replacement of Xbox Live Gold. Xbox Game Pass subscribers are unhappy about the lack of online multiplayer support for the console tier, which costs $11 a month. Xbox Game Pass Core costs $10 and offers online multiplayer, so current console subscribers must opt for a Core or Ultimate subscription to receive this benefit. Although Xbox Game Pass Console did not offer online multiplayer in the past, some subscribers believe the missing feature will now bring confusion to gamers wanting to purchase a subscription for the first time. The recent reveal of Xbox Game Pass Core has sparked several debates about whether Microsoft should introduce the online multiplayer benefit to the console tier or not. Some users in the Reddit's Xbox community believe Microsoft must add online multiplayer to Xbox Game Pass Console, since Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold will no longer be 2 coexisting services on Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S later this year. More gamers may be encouraged to sign up for an Xbox Game Pass Console subscription if online multiplayer support was included. However, the benefit might decrease the number of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers on consoles, since the console tier would offer most of the benefits at a lower monthly price. Microsoft may revise Xbox Game Pass console benefits in the future, but it's unclear whether the company would offer online multiplayer support to this particular subscription tier. To put this in simple words, Microsoft is finessing the Xbox ecosystem by pushing them into the Ultimate subscription tier. which also received a price increase recently and will tend to increase more after the Activision Blizzard King acquisition closes. And the name Xbox Live is a legendary one going back to the OG Xbox and online gaming. It really is an end of an era. Xbox revenues remained relatively flat for the final quarter of Microsoft's financial year, showing a 1% increase for the 3 months ended June 30th. Microsoft's Q4 results show the company's total revenue was up 8% year-on-year to $56.2 billion, although the more personal computing segment, which includes Xbox, saw a 4% decline, dipping to $13.9 billion. Microsoft reported the 1% increase in its total gaming revenue was lower than expected, with CEO Satya Nadella attributing this to weakness in first-party and third-party content performance during an earnings call. Xbox content and services revenue fared better, growing by 5% thanks to third-party content sales and Xbox Game Pass. Microsoft reported that this was a record Q4 in terms of monthly active users for Xbox, as well as a record Q4 for Game Pass, where hours played rose by 22%. However, Xbox console sales enjoyed less success, with hardware revenue falling by 13% year-on-year during the 3-month period, which follows 30% decline in the last quarter. Looking forward, Nadella expects gaming revenue growth in mid-single digits, with mid to high single-digit growth for content and services, even in the midst of releasing Starfield. This proves they have less expectations for Starfield's performance, and sales will likely be much low due to launching the game in a subscription service day one. Microsoft has acknowledged that its decision not to bring Starfield and other Bethesda games to PlayStation will lead to millions of sales being missed out on. The as-yet unconcluded court case between Microsoft and the United States Federal Trade Commission has led to some very interesting testimony regarding past and future Xbox exclusivity plans. The testimony reveals that Microsoft believes that 20 million sales will be missed out on between Starfield and Machine Games' Indiana Jones alone. A document detailing testimony from Xbox CFO Tim Stewart provides some insight into just how important exclusivity for Xbox is, and at what cost it comes. Stewart was said to have acknowledged that following Microsoft's acquisition of ZeniMax in 2020, it evaluated the cost of exclusivity for certain Bethesda games. Its conclusion was that, if Xbox released both Starfield and Indiana Jones on PlayStation, the two games would accrue an additional 10 million in sales each. Perhaps even more shocking is that Microsoft saw those forecasted sales numbers and believed exclusivity was still the better option. Stewart said that Microsoft believed it would make up for those lost sales through increased Xbox console sales and Game Pass. That should make clear just how profitable Microsoft sees exclusivity to be for recently acquired studios' new games. In other words, Microsoft very likely sees a huge upside in the possibility of taking Call of Duty exclusive. Ubisoft has said that its Q1 results is ahead of target while net sales are down 9% year-on-year. The Assassin's Creed maker's new financial report also highlighted that net bookings, while down 8% overall, was strong for its Tom Clancy Rainbow Six Siege during the period. Net sales were €289 million, $321.6 million, down 9% year-on-year. Ubisoft said that Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six net bookings and daily active users had grown due to its new seasonal content, while The Crew 2 saw an increase in its monthly active users during June. The firm also noted that it held a number of test phases for its free-to-play initiatives. Beta tests were held for Tom Clancy's The Division Resurgence, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Mobile, and Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland. The company also highlighted that its Ubisoft Forward event, held in June, saw a 64% jump in live viewership. The show featured trailers for the upcoming Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and Star Wars Outlaws. Regarding the firm's quarter, CEO Yves Guillemot said, "This quarter, we delivered a better-than-expected performance. And we continued to progress on our two-pillar strategy of reaching a significantly larger audience and growing our recurring revenues." In addition to increased engagement and positive sentiment from players, Ubisoft Forward was an important moment of pride for our teams across the world. Our test phases for our free-to-play titles during the quarter provided key data to our teams as they are getting the games ready for release. Additionally, Ubisoft's board has proposed to nominate independent directors Catherine Hayes and Alpha Zorgati to join at its September annual general meeting. Looking ahead, the games firm projects to earn €350 million, $389.5 million, in net bookings for Q2. Capcom released its financial earnings report for its first fiscal quarter. The new release Street Fighter VI and the Resident Evil 4 remake were the top performers, driving net sales up 74% year-on-year to 43.8 billion yen, $313 million. Net income was 24 billion yen, $171.6 million, up 99.4% year-on-year. Capcom's biggest release during this period was Street Fighter VI. Released on June 2, the fighting sequel sold 2 million units within a month of release. Resident Evil 4 launched at the tail end of Capcom's last financial year and sold 3.73 million copies in its first week. In Q1 of this fiscal year, the game sold 1.2 million copies to bring the life-to-date total to 4.95 million. Capcom also reported the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection Volume 1 and Volume 2 has sold 1.32 million since its launch in April 2023. The publisher saw a boost in catalog title sales thanks to price promotions for games like Monster Hunter Rise and Resident Evil 2. As a result, catalog sales reached 9.8 million units, an almost 9% increase in sales from last year. Overall, Capcom reported sales of 13.5 million units of its games in the first quarter of its fiscal year, a 15% increase from the same time as last year. Total sales for the digital contents division, which includes its video games, were up 91% year-on-year to 37.9 billion yen, $270.3 million. Operating income for this segment was reported as 24.7 billion yen, $176.2 million, up 97%. Elsewhere, Capcom's amusement equipment business saw ongoing demand for Shin Onimusha and Monster World. Iceborne pachinko machines, driving net sales up 38.2% year-on-year to 898 million yen, $6.4 million. Looking ahead, Capcom hopes to bolster its current quarter results with the multiplayer shooter Exoprimal, which has reached 1 million players since release on July 14. Just a little over a month after the long-awaited title made its world debut, Playground Games' Fable 4 is losing one of its key team members with the departure of narrative lead Anna Megel. In addition to its work on Fable 4, Playground Games is also responsible for the wildly successful Forza Horizon series of racing games on PC and Xbox consoles. Debuting in 2004 with the release of Fable: The Lost Chapters on the Xbox, the Fable franchise offers players an often comedic take on the typical fantasy RPG. Set in the fictional realm of Albion, each Fable game takes place in a different time period and tasks players with traditional action RPG gameplay infused with a heavy dose of player choice. How players choose to develop their character, and how they treat others in Albion, will influence their appearance, abilities, and even the world around them in some instances. The latest entry in the franchise was revealed to players last month when a gameplay trailer for Fable 4 was shown as part of the Xbox Games Showcase 2023. Fable 4 narrative lead Anna Megel has announced her departure from developer Playground Games after over 3 years with the company. Megel, who had previously worked as both the lead writer on Ubisoft's The Division 2 and the narrative lead for Remedy Entertainment's Control, announced her departure from the UK-based studio on her personal Twitter account. Stating that she had a busy year between work on Fable 4 and writing 2 books, Megel said that she would be taking some time off following her resignation. Despite moving on from the studio, Megel appeared to hold some ill will towards Playground Games. Although a high-level shakeup like this might leave some gamers feeling worried about the future of the franchise's latest entry, Megel assured Fable 4 fans that Playground has assembled a heroically talented team, so I know it's in good hands. Even with the excitement surrounding the return of the long-running franchise, the debut of Fable 4 didn't land with every fan. Even though fans of the franchise have already been waiting for the next entry for years at this point, Fable 4 seems to be off to a bumpy start. But despite some pushback from gamers and the departure of Megel, hopefully Playground Games will be able to deliver a worthy successor to the series whenever Fable 4 is eventually released. A recently publicized patent filed by Sony suggests that the company is developing an eye-tracking system for VR games which would allow in-game responses to the direction of a player's gaze. The listing for the patent, titled "Using Gaze Tracking to Affect Player Choices in Multiplayer Interactive Narratives," indicates that it was originally filed on December 21, 2022, around the same time that other companies were announcing similar eye-tracking patents. Virtual reality technology has seen a lot of progress and innovation in recent years, and Sony is among the major corporations pushing innovations in VR for use in video games. The company produces the PlayStation VR headset, one of the main VR gaming headsets currently on the market, and it has filed similar patents in the past pertaining to new VR technologies. However, this new patent is a bit strange, not only due to the nature of the technology described, but also because of the bizarre examples provided for how the system could be used. Simply put, the patent describes a system which would allow a VR headset to track the wearer's eye movements, and provide feedback based on the direction of their gaze, the dilation of their pupils, and more. The patent proposes using this technology in multiplayer games specifically, although other Sony projects have already demonstrated the potential uses of eye tracking in single-player VR horror games as well. What is most strange about the patent filing is that, in describing how the technology could be used, Sony gives an example of staring at someone's cleavage. Beginning in paragraph 26 of the patent's description section, a scenario is described in which two players are interacting in a multiplayer game, one controlling a customer while the other controls the shopkeeper. In this scenario, the shopkeeper character appears as a woman outfitted in a low-cut blouse, and they may be offered different dialogue options if, during the conversation, the customer player's gaze drifts to the shopkeeper's low-cut blouse, staring at her cleavage. According to the patent, these dialogue choices may include, "My eyes are up here," or, "Interestingly, I see that you like what you see." It is unclear how the suggestive interactions implied by this example might be limited by Sony's efforts to censor age-restricted content in VR. Even without venturing into the speculation that this suggestive example seems to invite, this filing on its own is quite strange. While Sony is not the only gaming company announcing bizarre patents lately, this particular piece of eye-tracking technology stands out thanks to the eyebrow-raising implications of how it might be used. Inappropriate suggestions about possible applications will always be made about systems like this, but it is truly bizarre to see a company seemingly making such suggestions itself, in its own patent filing. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.